The world is quiet now. Let the noise fade. Let the body grow heavy. Let the breath slow. You are not asleep, not yet. You are suspended, held softly between the waking and the dreaming. This is a sacred space, a doorway to memory far older than your own. The kind that does not begin with words, but with wind, with stone, with stillness. Now imagine the warm air of a vast desert wrapping around you. Not harsh, but gentle, like breath. Imagine grains of sand slipping past your fingertips like time itself. Ahead of you, the horizon stretches wide and golden. But rising from that horizon, silent and unmoving, is a form so immense, so patient, that it arrests the very pace of thought. You are in Egypt now, but not the Egypt of tourist maps or camera flashes, not the Egypt of crowded markets and painted postcards. This is a much older Egypt, the Egypt before all that, before even history had been named. You are standing at the very edge of civilization itself, where story, stone, and starlight first began to intertwine. And there, casting a shadow over the sands, stands the Great Pyramid of Giza. You've seen pictures, models, videos, but nothing prepares you for its silence, for its stillness. It does not speak in words, but in presence. And it is that presence you feel now, tall, precise, eternal. The longer you stand before it, the less it feels like an object, and the more it feels like a mind. Not a building, a thought. You walk toward it slowly. Each block of stone is larger than a man, yet placed with such care that not even the thinnest blade can slide between them. No mortar, no gaps, just impossible precision carved out of time. Over 2 million blocks, each weighing between 2 and 15 tons, rise layer by layer to form a perfect pyramid. Not roughly shaped, not roughly placed, but aligned, perfectly, to true north. In fact, the alignment is so accurate that it outperforms many modern compasses. The base of the pyramid is nearly a perfect square. Its sides are oriented almost exactly to the 4 cardinal points. How could they have known? Without satellites, without GPS, without lasers or modern tools. And yet, they knew. Even the dimensions tell a story. If you measure the pyramid carefully, you find that it encodes the dimensions of the Earth itself, its polar circumference, its equatorial bulge, even the ratio of the radius to the circumference of a circle, the number pi, the golden ratio, all there, in stone, laid down millennia before modern science would rediscover these numbers. Coincidence or memory? You step closer now. Run your hand along the cool surface of limestone. Once, these blocks were covered in polished white casing stones, so smooth and bright that sunlight would reflect off the pyramid and light up the desert for miles. Ancient travelers described it as a glowing mountain, a lighthouse of time. At the summit, now rough and broken, there may once have been a golden capstone, a pyramid within the pyramid, reflecting light like a beacon to the heavens. Gold, light, stone, geometry, all aligned to something greater than form alone. But the true mystery lies within. You enter the pyramid through a narrow passage. The temperature drops instantly. The heat of the desert fades behind you, replaced by a cool silence so complete it becomes a sound in itself. The walls close in. The air is still. You descend, step by step, through long corridors cut with impossible precision. No tool marks, no irregularity, just smooth, unwavering stone. You reach the Grand Gallery, a soaring, corbelled passage that opens upward with such symmetry It feels like a frozen wave. No one is certain why it was built. It serves no obvious structural purpose. And yet, standing inside it, you feel something shift, something vibrate. The chamber at the heart of the pyramid, often called the King's Chamber, is built from granite blocks, so massive they defy explanation. Each one weighs tens of tons and was transported from Aswan, nearly 500 miles away. How? Why? And why granite? A stone known not only for its strength, but its resonant qualities. You sit in the chamber now. Let your breath fall silent. You hum softly. The sound does not echo. It amplifies. The chamber is a resonator, a box of frequency. Each wall, each angle, each stone, tuned, as if the pyramid were not a tomb at all, but an instrument, a machine, a harmonizer of space and sound. What was it built for? Theories abound. Power plants, star portals, sonic temples. But no single theory explains it all, because perhaps it wasn't meant to be explained. Perhaps it was meant to be experienced. Even its location is intentional. The Great Pyramid is located at the very center of the Earth's landmass. It divides the planet's surface equally, a cosmic marker, a planetary hub. It is placed not just anywhere. It is placed where Earth meets sky, where form meets purpose. And all of it, every block, every angle, every alignment, was executed with such care, such vision, that it defies time itself. The Sphinx nearby watches silently, carved from bedrock, eroded by rain long before Egypt became desert. Some say it is older than the pyramids, much older, older than history. You begin to understand something. The builders of Egypt were not primitive. They were not merely laborers under a pharaoh's whip. They were engineers, philosophers, astronomers. They were dreamers who understood the language of stone and star. They built not to impress, but to remember, to align, to transmit. And as you step back into the light of the setting sun, the pyramid glowing once more in gold and shadow, you carry something with you, a vibration, a hum, a memory not of fact, but of knowing, the knowing that once, long ago, there were those who listened so closely to the world that they could speak to it in geometry, in resonance, in light. They are gone now, but their voice remains. Let your body sink now. You've been walking beneath sunlit pyramids, and the golden dust still clings to your thoughts. But the sand is shifting, the light is changing. A breeze stirs from the east, carrying with it the smell of riverbanks and burned cedar, of fertile soil and wet clay. The sun dips lower, the stars prepare to rise, and beneath your resting breath, something ancient begins to stir. You are leaving Egypt behind, not forever, only for now. You are following the flow of time backward again into even older waters, waters that run not just through land, but through story. You are entering Mesopotamia, the land between rivers, the cradle of civilization, but also, perhaps, a library of something deeper, of a memory held in wedge-shaped marks, etched into wet clay, dried by the sun, then buried by time. The Tigris and the Euphrates cradle this land, and their currents are slow, steady, wise. They have watched cities rise and fall. They have listened as languages were born, forgotten, then born again under different names. They have carried boats, dreams, grain, and gods. Tonight, they carry you. The air here is different. It is thick with stillness, not the silence of emptiness, the silence of reverence. You step now into the ancient city of Uruk, and the light is soft and blue, as if the sun has dipped just far enough to make the stones glow from within. The bricks beneath your feet are worn smooth, not by wheels, but by sandals, bare feet, time. They stretch in every direction, streets, alleyways, courtyards, ziggurats. But you are not here for the stones. You are here for what they remember. Uruk is one of the oldest cities we've ever known. It's the city of Gilgamesh, the king whose legend became the world's first great epic. But tonight, you're not here to meet a hero. You're here to meet the watchers, the listeners, the keepers of the sky. You enter a temple, the Eanna temple of Inanna, goddess of love and war, of stars and storms. The pillars rise above you. The walls shimmer with remnants of colored tiles, blues, greens, golds, a kind of cosmic mosaic. And on every surface, cuneiform, those curious, sharp lines pressed into clay with reed styluses. They look like random markings, but they are not. They are memory. You run your fingers along them. You don't need to read the words to feel their weight. They were not written for us. They were written for time itself, and they tell us things we're still struggling to understand. The Sumerians, the people of this land, were not simply farmers and builders. They were astronomers, mathematicians, poets, priests. They charted the sky with a precision that is difficult to explain. They divided the year into 12 months, the circle into 360 degrees. They invented the 60-second minute, the 60-minute hour, and no one knows exactly why. No one knows how. You sit beside a carved tablet. On it, tiny figures trace the movement of Venus, the evening and morning star. The Sumerians tracked her path across the sky for decades, recording each shift, each pause, each disappearance and return. Their tables rival ours even now, thousands of years later, without telescopes, without machines, only with the naked eye and a deep, patient listening to the night. But they were watching more than stars. They were watching beings. In their writings, the Sumerians speak of the Anunnaki, those who from the heavens came down. They were not gods in the sense of omnipotent spirits, but rather powerful visitors, wise, long-lived, and radiant. The tablets say the Anunnaki taught humanity how to plant, how to write, how to build, how to rule. They brought civilization. They walked among men. Were they metaphors? Were they stars? Were they something else entirely? We do not know. But the stories are there, repeated in tablet after tablet, in the myth of Enki and Enlil, the water god and the wind god, in the tale of Adapa, the man who was nearly given immortality, but lost it due to fear and fate, in the epic of Gilgamesh, where a great flood sweeps the earth, a tale older than Noah's, but strikingly familiar. You walk now through the remains of Ur, another Sumerian city. Its streets were once lined with lamplit homes. Its ziggurat, tall and spiraled, once rose toward the stars, a stairway of mud brick. Ziggurats weren't temples in the modern sense. They were platforms, places between heaven and earth, anchors, observatories, ritual machines. The higher one climbed, the closer one was to understanding. From the top, the priests would gaze at the stars, but not merely to tell stories. They were reading, searching, measuring. They recorded eclipses, solstices, planetary conjunctions. Some of their tablets describe stars we can't see without advanced optics. Others hint at celestial cycles lasting thousands of years, precession, the wobble of the Earth's axis, known to modern science, but spoken of here long before. And deeper still, there are hints of things we don't yet understand. Ancient Sumerian cylinder seals, small engraved stones rolled over clay to leave repeating patterns, show curious images. Men seated in aircraft-shaped thrones, strange beings wearing helmets, planets arranged in ways that raise questions even today. Were these symbols? Were they literal? Were they ancestral dreams? You're not here to answer. You're here to feel. And what you feel is something subtle but strong, a sense that these people knew themselves not as separate from the stars, but as part of them, that the city and the sky were one story, that to build a temple was to align your life with the heavens, that the body of man, the body of earth, and the body of the cosmos were mirrors. As above, so below. You lie down now on warm stone, gazing up. The stars are the same ones they watched, the same patterns, the same pulse, but something in you has changed. You are not only seeing stars, you are remembering them, you are feeling them, and deep in your chest, the old rhythm begins again. A soft thud, a gentle pull, a memory, older than language, of what it meant to be a listener of the sky. You do not need to understand it tonight, only to feel it, only to carry it with you into sleep. Let your breath drift deeper now, smooth and steady, like a long river in monsoon season, vast, reflective, unhurried. You are carried not by waves, but by memory. The land changes beneath you once more. The air thickens with warmth, fragrant with sandalwood, ghee smoke, and the sweet scent of jasmine drifting from unseen gardens. You are entering ancient India, but not the India of maps or museums, not the India of palaces and pageantry. This is a different India, one that sings not in monuments alone, but in syllables. This is the India of vibration, the India of temples, carved not only from rock, but from awareness. Here, sound is not a byproduct of speech. It is the origin of creation. In the beginning was not the word, but the Om, a single syllable, a tone, a resonance, the primordial vibration from which all forms emerge. You sit now at the edge of the Saraswati River, a river that no longer flows in visible streams, but runs deep in memory, in scripture, and in the blood of a civilization that once flourished beside it. You are surrounded by voices, not loud, but rhythmic, soft chants carried on the wind, rising from thatched roof ashrams and ancient stepwells. The voices are speaking the Vedas, the oldest known sacred texts, passed down not through ink, but through devotion, through sound. They are not just books, they are frequencies, each syllable memorized over generations, each meter designed to vibrate the body, to tune the breath, to awaken consciousness. To speak them aloud is to place yourself in rhythm with the universe. And the seers who composed them, the rishis, were not authors. They were listeners. They did not invent the Vedas. They heard them, not through ears, but through stillness, through meditation so deep that the truths of the cosmos emerged not in images or visions, but in subtle sound. You walk now through one of the ancient cities of the Indus Valley civilization, Mohenjo-Daro perhaps, or Harappa. The streets are clean, gridded, balanced. Drainage systems still function, thousands of years later. Wells still hold water. Public baths, large, symmetrical, precise, sit in the center of each community. There are no towering ziggurats, no imposing statues of rulers, no signs of war, no weapons, no kings, no tombs of glory, just balance, just water, just flow. You run your hands along the bricks of a bathing pool. They are laid with such care that not a crack is visible, fired uniformly, aligned precisely, a society that worship not wealth, but harmony. You look for writing. You find it, inscribed on seals, small and mysterious, curved lines, animals, symbols. No one has deciphered them yet. Perhaps they never will. Perhaps they were never meant to be read the way we read now. Perhaps they were like the Vedas, to be sung, felt, intuited. The culture fades into mist, lost, some say, to drought or river shifts or memory, but its energy remains. It flows eastward, like the Ganges, into the heart of what would become Vedic India. You walk now up the steps of a temple carved into a mountain, not built on top of the earth, but cut into its bones. This is Kailasa, the jewel of Allura, a temple not assembled stone by stone, but carved downward, out of a single massive piece of rock. The scale is impossible. Pillars, shrines, courtyards, statues, all one continuous form, as if the gods themselves pressed their fingers into the mountain and shaped it into presence. More than 200,000 tons of stone removed. No scaffolding, no mortar, no room for error. You are not walking in a building. You are walking in a thought. And every inch of this temple sings. You enter the sanctum, the inner chamber. It is small, dark. The air is thick. You sit in silence. And then you hum. Softly. The walls come alive. The tone builds. A single note, deep, round, vibrating through the stone, into your chest, down your spine, as if the temple has waited centuries for this sound to return. The ancients knew. They knew that sound was not entertainment. It was structure, that each note had weight, that each frequency carried shape. The practice of nada yoga, the yoga of sound, is built around this. In other temples, like Chidambaram, dedicated to Shiva as the lord of the dance, the inner sanctum is famously empty. There is no idol. Instead, a curtain flutters over nothing, but that nothing is not absence. It is space, the akasha, the ether, the field through which all sound travels. And hidden in a corner of that temple is a shrine to Nataraja, Shiva dancing within a ring of flame, balancing creation and destruction in one perfect pose. The ancients did not build temples to contain the divine. They built them to tune it. Each temple is placed according to Vastu Shastra, the science of spatial energy. Each structure faces the rising sun, the flow of wind, the tilt of the earth. Stones are selected not just for strength, but for tone. Granite, marble, sandstone, each responds to different chants in different ways. You begin to see a new pattern now, a deeper one. Egypt built with geometry, Sumer with alignment, but India built with vibration. To the seers, the body was a temple, the breath a prayer, and consciousness the final offering. The human body, they said, contains 7 chakras, not physical, but energetic, each resonating with a different frequency, a different syllable. These are not decorations. They are maps, blueprints for tuning the self. Chanting Om was not devotion. It was engineering. The Vedas described the universe as beginning not with an explosion, but a sound. The unstruck sound, anahata, still echoes in all things. You feel it now, faintly, between heartbeats, a presence behind your breath, a silence that is not empty, but full. You sit beneath a banyan tree, where roots hang like thoughts and branches stretch like questions. The leaves rustle, a bird calls, a bell rings in the distance. You feel everything slowing down, not dulling, but deepening. The world does not disappear. It becomes clear. It becomes soft. It becomes alive. You understand now why so much of ancient India focused not on outward expansion, but inward exploration. They were not interested in dominating the world. They were interested in understanding it. They believed that the answers did not lie in the stars above, but in the silence within. And tonight, that silence has found you. Let it cradle you now. You are not apart from this world. You are a note in its song. Sleep, and let the sound continue. Your breath is soft now, feather-light, steady. The thoughts are quiet, and the body lies still, as if it has become part of the earth. The journey flows onward, but without hurry. Time does not pass here. It drifts, like a paper lantern, down a moonlit stream. The land ahead rises gently from mist and silence, shaped not by force, but by patience, not by ambition, but by flow. You are entering ancient China. But this is not the China of dragon dances and imperial walls. This is the China before names, the China beneath the silk, a land where silence is sacred, and everything, sky, wind, stone, fire, has a spirit. A land where the greatest power comes not from conquering, but from yielding, from observing, from becoming still enough to notice. Here, you do not arrive. You emerge. The path brings you to a high mountain wrapped in mist. Cypress trees rise like dark brushstrokes. A narrow stone trail winds between boulders, their surfaces worn smooth by generations of feet. Monks, hermits, philosophers, all seeking something not external, but internal. You climb. There is no sound but birdsong and your breath. Then, above a ridge, a temple appears. It is not grand. It does not dominate. It blends. Its roof lines curved like waves, its tiles moss-covered, its wooden pillars carved with care, but not vanity. This is a Taoist temple, not a place of worship, but of alignment. The stone foundation rests perfectly upon the land, not cut against it. The doorways face east, welcoming the morning light. Each room, each threshold, each beam, balanced, oriented, listening. You step inside. A monk nods, silent. He does not preach. He does not ask. He only tends the altar, not for a god, but for harmony. A bowl of water, a sprig of pine, a feather, a stone, a flame. The 5 elements, water, wood, fire, earth, metal, not as superstitions, but as observations of nature's rhythm. And above them all, the Tao, the way. Not a rule, not a doctrine, a current, a presence, like gravity, but spiritual. The Tao is what causes clouds to drift and rivers to bend. It cannot be named, because names are limits. It cannot be seen, because it is the space between sight. You sit in the stillness. You begin to notice your breath again. It flows, not with force, but with yielding. Inhale, exhale, like the mountain wind, like the tide. This is Wu Wei, effortless action, the art of doing by not doing, of allowing the world to move through you, rather than forcing yourself upon it. The architecture around you teaches the same. Homes and palaces here are not built randomly. They follow feng shui, literally, wind and water. But it is more than design. It is spatial philosophy. Every building is placed so that qi, the life energy, can flow uninterrupted. Doors are placed not just for convenience, but for cosmic alignment. Gardens are shaped not to control nature, but to honor it. You walk now through such a garden. Pebbled paths curve like rivers. Rocks are not obstacles, but anchor points. Bamboo sways gently in the wind, its rustling like the whisper of silk. A pond reflects not only sky, but thought. In it, koi glides slowly, red, gold, silver. Their presence a living mandala. In the distance, a scholar sits beneath a pine, writing calligraphy. But he does not force the ink. His brush moves with the breath, each stroke a breath, each breath a prayer. The characters are not just letters, they are movement, energy, expression. The character for human is simple, two lines leaning against each other, a reminder that no one stands alone. The character for peace includes roof and heart, meaning peace is the heart under a roof. Everything is meaning. Everything is metaphor. You move now through time. Down a gentle valley, you reach a city. Chang'an, perhaps, the ancient capital. But unlike the cities of the West, this one is laid out not for power, but for order. Streets run in grids. The palace is central, like the heart of the body. Markets in the east and west. Walls not to oppress, but to contain energy. And at the center of it all, not a throne, but a calendar. Chinese emperors ruled not just with law, but with time. They were responsible for ensuring that the celestial and the earthly remained in harmony. An eclipse, a drought, a failed harvest. These were not coincidences. They were signs. The emperor must respond not with command, but with correction. This is why astrology flourished, not as entertainment, as duty. You climb now the ancient Beijing Observatory, where bronze instruments still rest on stone towers, armillary spheres, celestial globes, sighting tubes. With these, Chinese astronomers mapped the heavens, tracked comets, predicted eclipses, aligned rituals. They divided the sky into lunar mansions, segments of the night used to guide agriculture, medicine, architecture. The stars were not distant. They were intimate. They governed sleep, planting, prayer, even architecture. Everything had its place. Nothing was wasted. Even music followed this law. Notes were tied to seasons, directions, and emotions. A single misplaced note could disrupt the harmony of a court. A well-played zither could restore the balance of the body. This is what the ancients meant by order, not control. Resonance. You return now to the mountain temple. The sky is darker. The stars emerge like fireflies in ink. The monk invites you to sit before a bronze bowl. He strikes it gently. A single tone fills the room. It vibrates through the floor, through the bones, through thought itself. It lingers, not because it is loud, because it is true. And in that tone, you hear it again, the old lesson. The purpose of life is not to rise above the world. It is to find one's place within it, to live, not as the wind blows you, but as the wind moves through you. You lie down in silence now. The floor is warm, the air still, and the Tao continues, not as a path you walk, but a way you become. Sleep now, not in forgetting, but in remembering. The mountains rise now beneath your resting breath, not suddenly, but gradually, like the slow blooming of a dream. The air thins, but not from fear, from height, from reverence. You are leaving the lowlands behind, leaving the temples of silence and water for something older still, something carved not from the ground up, but from the heavens down. You are entering the Andes. The world here is made of stone and sky, every peak a pillar, every valley a shadow that hums with memory. The wind is cooler now, and it carries with it the scent of lichen-covered granite, of dry earth, of sweet coca leaves crushed between fingers as an offering to the gods. But the gods here are not hidden. They are the mountains themselves, the apus, the living spirits of the peaks. They do not descend, they do not punish, they do not wear crowns or sit on thrones. They watch, they remember, and they hold within their slopes the traces of a civilization so ancient, so precise, that modern minds still struggle to understand. You begin your journey in the sacred valley. Before you, nestled between cliffs that glow orange in the sun, lies Ollantaytambo, a site part fortress, part temple, part enigma. The stones are enormous, as tall as a man and as wide as three, fitted so tightly together that not even a hair can slip between them. No mortar, no glue, only balance, only knowledge. You run your hand along one wall. The stones are not uniform, they are interlocking, puzzle-like, as if each piece was shaped not only for strength, but for conversation. Each bump, each groove, each joint, part of a language that doesn't speak in syllables, but in stillness. And then you notice something deeper. Some of the stones have been melted. Edges look softened, fused, not broken, blended. Was it heat, vibration, an unknown technique long since forgotten? The locals, the Quechua people, say these walls were not built by men, but by Viracocha, the great creator, the engineers of stone, the bringers of form, not gods in the Western sense, but ancestors from the stars, from the mist, from the time before time. You do not argue, because something here feels older than time. Now you climb higher. The journey is not rushed. It is a sacred walk, a pilgrimage. Each step reminds you of your breath. Each turn reveals a new fold of mountain, a new echo of history. Llamas watch you pass. A shepherd nods in silence. The clouds roll low, as if the sky itself is descending to greet the earth. And then, above the clouds, you arrive. Machu Picchu. You have seen its image, on postcards, on screens, but nothing compares to standing within it. The stones glow in the afternoon light, their grey faces dusted with moss, their angles sharp and deliberate. Terraces stretch along the slopes like the ribs of a sleeping giant. The buildings are silent, not abandoned, but waiting. No wheels were used here. No written plans have survived. And yet, the precision is staggering. You enter the Temple of the Sun, a semicircular tower built atop a massive stone platform. A single window opens to the east. During the winter solstice, the morning sun pierces through that window and lands directly on a carved, ceremonial stone within. A perfect alignment. You climb to the Intihuatana, the hitching post of the sun, a carved pillar of stone, standing alone. During the equinoxes, it casts no shadow. It is not decoration. It is an instrument. A sundial, yes, but also a spiritual anchor. A place where time was not measured, but woven. These people did not separate science from spirit. They measured the stars with their temples. They fed the land with their prayers. Their agricultural terraces were not only for crops. They were experiments in microclimates, elevations, seasons. Their entire civilization, from the irrigation channels to the ceremonial roads, was designed in dialogue with the land. And what land it was. You move now to Sacsayhuaman, overlooking the city of Cusco. Here, the stones become impossibly large. Some weigh over 100 tons, and yet they rest together as if poured into place, their shapes irregular, their union flawless. No one knows how they were moved, not with copper tools, not with ropes alone. The stones were not carved on sight. They were transported, lifted, balanced, whispered into place. Some say it was done with sound, harmonics that softened stone, made it pliable. Others speak of forgotten alloys, secret methods, or even the will of the mountains themselves. But perhaps the answer is not how. Perhaps it is why. These stones were not built to last. They were built to remember, to align, to speak. You sit now among them. The wind moves through the highland grasses. Far below, the valley pulses with life. The same rivers, the same sky, the same silence. You are no longer asking questions. You are simply listening. The Inca believed in cycles, pachacutis, great ages of time that rise and fall, each with its own wisdom, its own forgetting. We live, they said, in one of many such turns, and what was once known will be known again. You are beginning to feel that truth. You are not discovering something new. You are remembering something old. Something your bones already knew, something your breath had once been taught. That stone is not dead, that time is not straight, that the earth, when listened to, will teach. You close your eyes now. The mountain holds you. You are not a visitor. You are part of the pattern. Sleep, not in darkness, but in light, carved gently into memory. Your breath now is no longer tied to land. It flows wider, slower, like a tide returning from the shore. You are not standing anymore. You are floating, drifting. The earth has fallen behind, and around you, only the soft sway of water remains. The sky above you is clear, but not empty. It pulses with stars, vast and alive. They shimmer not randomly, but as patterns, maps, signals. You begin to sense what the ancients once knew, that the ocean is not a barrier. It is a pathway. You are sailing now into the Pacific, but not on metal ships, not with engines or screens. You are aboard a wā kaulua, a double-hulled canoe, hand-carved, bound with cordage, steered not with compasses, but with wisdom. You are sailing with the wayfinders. These were not mere sailors. They were navigators of an entirely different order, men and women who listened to the sea like a heartbeat, who read the clouds, the currents, the birds, the salt on the wind, who memorized thousands of star paths, constellations rising and setting, tilting and vanishing, not as images in the sky, but as coordinates for survival. You travel now across blue deserts of open water, where no land is seen for hundreds of miles, and yet your guides know the way. They know because they remember. Their memories are not written in ink. They are passed from voice to ear. A navigator sings, a chant, a story, a sacred map. Star of the shark's tail, rise beneath the moon, turn when the swell shifts, follow the frigate bird, 3 nights more. This is the science of song. Each chant encodes generations of observation, currents, winds, seasonal shifts, the behavior of whales, the smell of land before it appears. You are heading toward Rapa Nui, known to many as Easter Island, but long before that name, it had others, names whispered by its people, Te Pito or Te Henua, the navel of the world, or Mata Kiterangi, the eyes that look toward heaven. And as you approach, you see why. They are standing, hundreds of them. The Moai, stone statues rising from the earth like dreams cast in basalt. Some are 10 feet tall, others 30. They stare inland, not out to sea, their backs to the horizon, their gaze fixed on the land and on you. You step ashore, barefoot on volcanic soil. The ground is warm, the air is heavy with salt and thyme. The statues loom, and yet they do not intimidate. They watch, not to judge, to witness. Each Moai is different, unique faces, carved ears, long torsos. Many once wore red stone topknots, pukao, symbols of mana, of spiritual power. They were not gods, but ancestors, embodied memory, and their construction is still a mystery. How were they carved, with only stone tools? How were they moved, some weighing over 80 tons, across miles of rough terrain? The old people say they walked, not metaphorically, but physically, rocked side to side with ropes in perfect rhythm, guided by chants, balance, and belief. The science has tried to replicate it, and it works. But even now, no one is sure how many, how long, or why the builders stopped. You walk among them slowly. Each Moai has a platform, an ahu, a ceremonial base aligned with solar and lunar events. Some are grave sites, others are altars, but all are placed with intention. None are random. The ancients of Rapa Nui were astronomers, engineers, oral historians, and then something deeper. Beneath the Moai, etched into stone and driftwood, you find Rongorongo, a written language no one has yet deciphered. It dances in flowing glyphs, birds, fish, spirals, crescents, repeating in hypnotic sequences. Some believe it is mnemonic. Some say it is a calendar. Others say it encodes chants that once sang the island into being. But the voices that could read it have long since fallen silent. Still, the energy lingers. You sit at the base of a Moai now. The sun has dipped. The sky turns violet. And as the first stars appear, you feel the ancient breath of the ocean against your cheek. You are reminded that these islands, Rapa Nui, Hawaii, Samoa, Tahiti, Aotearoa, are not isolated. They are part of a web, a great oceanic network. The Polynesians were the largest maritime culture in human history. Long before maps, before global empires, they had mapped 1/3 of the planet by heart, sail, and sky. And when the Western world called these islands lost, they misunderstood entirely. They were not lost. They were remembered, held in song, held in sail, held in soul, and you too now carry a trace of that memory. It hums in your ribs. It sways in your breath. The navigator hums again beside you, a low tone, a lullaby, a compass, and you drift, not away, but deeper, toward the roots of your own knowing. You are no longer wondering how these people cross the ocean. You are feeling what carried them: belief, stillness, sky. Sleep now. The ocean holds you. The stars remember, and the ancestors are always watching. Let the night grow darker now, not colder, but softer. The stars gather above you again, but this time they shine from a different angle. The wind carries a new scent: warm earth, crushed herbs, distant drums, faint, like memory. You are not walking forward. You are descending gently into a continent that breathes with depth and silence, a continent whose roots are deeper than time. You are entering Africa, but not the Africa of headlines and borders, not the Africa flattened by maps or reduced to myth. This is the Africa that lives in stone circles, in golden cities swallowed by forest, in songs older than kingdoms. The Africa whose civilizations were not lost, only overlooked. You begin in the Sahel, where the Sahara's golden edge meets the savannah. The sun has just set. The air is heavy with heat, but still, and ahead of you, bathed in the last orange light, rise the ancient walls of Timbuktu. Not just a city, a symbol. Once called the jewel of the desert, Timbuktu was a center of knowledge, a crossroads of caravans and scholars. The streets once echoed not with war, but with wisdom. Students recited poetry, teachers taught astronomy, scribes copied manuscripts late into the night by the flicker of lanterns and stars. You walk now into a quiet mud brick library, the air smelling of old parchment and dried leather. Inside are thousands of books, in Arabic, Songhai, Berber, bound by hand, passed through generations. Books on geometry, medicine, ethics, politics, astronomy. In a world that thought of Africa as dark, this place shined. You run your fingers along one of the texts. The script is flowing, elegant. The ink faded but alive. The book speaks of stars, planetary alignments, lunar months, the pulse of the cosmos. These were not imported ideas. They were developed here, debated here, expanded here. You turn the pages slowly. One passage describes the length of a solar year with astounding precision, within seconds of modern calculations. Another lays out methods of surgical practice, passed down long before Western medicine would catch up. Timbuktu was not alone. To the south, in the highlands of modern-day Zimbabwe, rise the silent ruins of Great Zimbabwe, a massive stone complex, once home to kings, builders, and artists. No mortar holds the stones. They are stacked in perfect balance. Some walls soar 20 feet into the sky, curving with geometric grace. You walk among them now. The walls are warm from the sun. The granite glows in the twilight. You enter the great enclosure, and in the center stands a single conical tower, its purpose still debated. Was it symbolic, astronomical, ceremonial? No one is certain, but you feel something as you stand before it. A resonance. These walls were not built randomly. They follow sacred proportions, ratios echoing those in Egyptian temples, in nature, in music. Whoever built this knew that space could speak, if shaped correctly. And from here, gold flowed. Great Zimbabwe sat on vast trade routes, connecting the heart of Africa to the Swahili coast, to India, to China, and beyond. Gold, Ivory and iron moved east, while porcelain, spices, and scripts flowed west. Coins from Arabia, ceramics from Persia, and above it all, the hum of language. You travel now along that coast to Kilwa, once the most powerful city-state in East Africa. Its buildings were coral stone, its palaces grand. The Portuguese, upon seeing it in the 1500s, said it rivaled any city in Europe. You walk through the remnants now, cracked walls, columns leaning into the breeze, and yet you can still hear the echoes, traders calling, waves lapping, bells from minarets. This was not a place of isolation. It was a center of exchange. And deeper inland still, there are whispers of even older civilizations. The kingdom of Kush, once rivals of Egypt, who ruled the Nile and built pyramids even more numerous than those at Giza. You travel to Meroe, and the sands grow redder. The pyramids here are narrower, sharper, packed closely together like the teeth of a great stone beast. They rise from the desert in rows, some broken, some intact, but each points to the sky. The Kushites mastered iron. They built temples, worshipped gods both familiar and local. Their queens, Kandakes, were warriors and rulers, and their cities flourished long after Egypt faded. But so much was forgotten, not because it vanished, because it was not seen. You walk now farther west, through the forests of what is now Nigeria. Beneath the roots and vines lies Ife, a city of artists. From its soil emerge bronze heads of such beauty and technical precision that Europeans first believed they must have been made by Greeks. But they were not. They were made by Yoruba craftsmen, lost wax casted, smooth, expressive, detailed, their eyes wide, serene, watchful, like the Moai, like the Sphinx, like all ancestral faces. They are not looking back. They are looking through. As the stars rise over the forest canopy, you realize that Africa's story is not one of absence. It is one of layers, layers of silence, not because there is nothing to say, but because the story was waiting for the right kind of listener. You. Let your eyes close now. Let the breath fall into rhythm. The drums are faint, the wind is slow, but the resonance remains. The resonance of empires not lost, only paused. And in your sleep, you carry them forward. Your breath is slower now, not from weariness, but from peace. The winds of time carry you onward again, across the vastness of oceans, through the weave of night, toward another land, a place where the earth speaks in curves, where rivers coil like living lines of thought, and where knowledge was not written in books, but shaped into the land itself. You are arriving in North America, but not the one known by borders and nations. This is an older North America, one that lived in rhythm with the stars and the soil, one that built with earth instead of stone, and measured time not in clocks, but in shadows and light. The air is cool here, touched with pine and smoke, and the scent of wild grass after rain. You walk softly across a great plain. The wind hushes the tall grass, and ahead of you, in the open distance, rises something enormous. Not a mountain, not a hill, but a mound. And then another, and another. You are standing in Cahokia, near the Mississippi River, once the greatest city north of Mesoamerica. But no palaces rise here, no stone pyramids. Instead, you see massive earthen platforms, over 100 mounds, arranged with precise geometry, aligned to celestial events. The largest, Monk's Mound, towers above you. It is as tall as a 10-story building, its base wider than the Great Pyramid of Giza. You climb its grassy steps. At the top, the view stretches for miles. Rivers, forests, distant hills. And in the sky, the stars begin to appear, flickering like memories coming awake. Cahokia was not primitive. It was a metropolis. Tens of thousands lived here. Farmers, astronomers, builders, traders. A wooden calendar called Woodhenge once stood nearby. Great posts marking solstices and equinoxes. From the center, the sun would rise through aligned gates, a time-keeping tool, a sacred circle. This was not guesswork. It was engineering. The people of Cahokia understood the sky. They built their lives around its rhythm. And then they vanished. No one knows why. Drought, migration, a shift in spirit. The city fell silent, but its shape remained, like a whisper left in the earth. You walk now westward, through grasslands and deserts, where the land begins to lift. The Great Plains give way to canyons and mesas, and here, in the high desert, you find something else, carved not upward, but inward. The cliffside dwellings of the ancestral Puebloans, often called the Anasazi. You step into Mesa Verde, into homes tucked under overhanging cliffs, stone rooms, kivas, round ceremonial chambers built into the earth. The people here were not wanderers. They were architects of light and shadow. Each doorway, each window, is placed with intent. On solstices, a dagger of sunlight pierces a spiral carved into rock. At other times, it vanishes. This is not decoration. This is a calendar etched in stone, activated only by the sky. And in the northern plains, another geometry appears, one made not of walls, but of stones in circles, aligned to the rising and setting of stars. You arrive at a medicine wheel. There are many, some small, others enormous, built from stone, low to the ground. Each spoke points to a celestial event, a solstice, a constellation, the lunar standstill. They were used for ceremony, yes, but also for knowledge. The Lakota, the Blackfoot, the Cree, all knew these patterns. The wheel was not just a shape, it was a way of seeing, a map of seasons, a cycle of life, a bridge between sky and soul. You kneel beside one now. The wind brushes your face. The stones are cool. And in the vast silence of the prairie night, you begin to hear what the elders heard, that the earth is not to be conquered. It is to be listened to, that the sky is not above us. It is around us. And that knowledge is not something held. It is something shared. The old ways are not gone. They are stored in the shape of mounds, in the angle of stones, in the spaces left untouched, because silence was sacred. And perhaps that's the lesson now. That greatness doesn't always build higher. Sometimes it builds deeper, into soil, into time, into the breath. And you, here, now, still, are part of that breath. Let the earth rise around you. Let the stars drift slowly over your closed eyes. Let the wisdom of this land sink quietly into your dreams. You are not a stranger here. You are an echo, and the silence welcomes you home. Let the world grow soft now. The wind is gone. The ground no longer feels beneath you. Only water, still, deep, vast, not cold, not turbulent, just present, as if you float on the surface of thought itself. The stars above are dimmer now, as if looking through mist. Your breath drifts in and out, and every exhale feels like the letting go of a century. You are sailing again, but this time not toward land. You are sailing toward myth, and below the waves, deeper than the oceans you've crossed, something stirs, something that has slept for millennia in the minds of poets, dreamers, and seekers. Tonight, you descend into Atlantis, but not as a tourist, not for gold, not for lost machines or ancient power. You come as a witness, as a listener. You are not here to prove. You are here to remember. The name first appeared in Plato's dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, a civilization of immense power and sophistication, circular cities, crystal towers, electric light, machines that hummed with energy drawn from the earth itself. He spoke of temples gilded in orichalcum, a metal unknown to us now, of aqueducts and canals, of palaces lined with ivory and gold. He said Atlantis sat beyond the Pillars of Hercules, what we now call the Strait of Gibraltar, and that in a single day and night of misfortune, it vanished beneath the sea. Scholars say it was a metaphor, a warning, a tale of hubris and divine punishment. But others feel something deeper, because Atlantis is not alone. Cultures across the world whisper of sunken lands. In India, the Tamil texts speak of Kumari Kandam, a lost continent south of the subcontinent, where a great civilization once flourished. It sank beneath the waves, taking its knowledge with it. The people who escaped became the seers and teachers of later ages. In the Pacific, legends tell of Lemuria, or Mu, a land that stretched from Madagascar to Easter Island, a place of telepathic beings, great temples, and forgotten wisdom. The Hawaiians speak of Kanehuna, the hidden people. The Maori sing of Hawaii, their ancestral homeland beneath the sea. Even in the Americas, there are echoes. The Hopi speak of Tokpela, the first world, destroyed by floods. The Maya tell of Aztlan, the land before time. Different names, the same shape, the same fall. You descend deeper into the sea now, but not with fear. The water parts before you, warm and silent, revealing a city made not of coral or ruin, but of memory. Towers still shimmer with ancient light. Archways curve like frozen waves. And though no people walk here, you feel presence. Each building seems to hum with thought, a low frequency, like a song too deep to hear, but not too deep to feel. You float through a great plaza. On the walls, symbols you almost recognize, spirals, eyes, suns within triangles, not just decoration, maps of energy. They describe ley lines, magnetic grids, vortexes of thought and place. They show how cities were not placed at random. They were tuned, like instruments. Atlantis, if it lived, did not simply thrive through technology. It thrived through alignment. The people of this place, whether real or imagined, were said to be tall, radiant, gifted in science and spirit alike. They did not divide the world into sacred and secular. To build a structure was an act of worship. To sing a note was to heal the body. To meditate was to travel without moving. And perhaps, over time, they forgot. Perhaps they reached too far. Perhaps they tried to control what was meant to be shared. The fall of Atlantis, then, is not a punishment. It is a reminder, a cycle, a memory of what happens when balance is broken. But the memory is not lost. It lives on, not in artifacts or ruins, but in our stories, in dreams, in instincts, in the way certain shapes make us feel calm, in the way a spiral in nature feels right, in the way children draw suns with faces, not because they're taught to, but because something inside them remembers. You drift now through what might have been a library, but there are no books, only crystals, tall, clear, glowing faintly from within. You place your hand on one, and in that moment you see flashes, not images, feelings, a civilization where silence was medicine, where sound was used to shape matter, where dreams were studied as navigation tools, where life was not a struggle for survival, but a dance of learning, expanding, remembering. And then the water stirs, not with fear, with release. The city around you begins to dissolve, not vanish, but return to mist, to myth, to where it belongs, in the in-between. Half history, half metaphor. And you understand now that Atlantis may never have been a place on a map. It may have been a place inside the soul, a reminder of what we were, what we could be again, and what we carry in our deepest silence. Let go now. You are not drowning. You are dreaming. Sleep in the memory of a city that never quite vanished. Sleep in the echo of the stars reflected in water. There is no movement now, only stillness. But within that stillness, something stirs, not in the body, not in the mind, but in the air. Something deeper than thought, older than language. You do not see it. You do not touch it. You feel it. A vibration, a gentle thrum beneath the silence, like a breath held by the universe itself. You are drifting now through space, not defined by shape or color, but by sound. You are floating through the fabric of vibration, and as you slow, as your breathing settles into the pulse of this space, the patterns begin to emerge. Waves, tones, shapes forming in nothing but motion. You are entering the ancient science of resonance. Long before the microscope, long before the telescope, before the wheel or the plough or even fire, came sound, not as noise, but as form. Every ancient culture knew this in some way. They may have used different words, different rituals, different gods, but the knowing was always the same. Sound creates structure. In India, it was Nada Brahma. The world is sound. The Vedas were not just scripture, they were vibration, recited with precision, in exact meters and tones. The chants were not just poems, they were formulas, aligning body, mind, and cosmos. In Egypt, the priests chanted in chambers shaped to amplify intention. Some temples contained inner sanctuaries that vibrated at exactly 111 hertz, a frequency shown even today to create states of meditation, healing, and transcendence. In the Andes, flutes and drums were played in sacred tunnels to harmonize with the earth's pulse. And in Europe, the builders of Gothic cathedrals embedded musical ratios into the dimensions of arches and naves. A cathedral was not just a building, it was an instrument. You walk now through such a cathedral. The ceiling soars above you like the belly of a great ship. You hum softly, and the sound travels, not away from you, but through you. It echoes with purpose It returns altered. It reveals the shape of space. This is acoustic architecture, and it is not limited to buildings. You stand now before a plate covered with fine sand. Beneath it, a low tone begins to hum. The sand trembles, then dances, then arranges itself into perfect shapes, circles, hexagons, spirals. Change the tone. The shape changes. This is cymatics, the science of making sound visible. And through it, you understand something profound. Everything vibrates. The atoms in your hand, the earth beneath your feet, the light in the stars. Every object has a resonant frequency, its natural song, and when that song is played, the object responds. It aligns. It awakens. This is not theory. This is physics. And the ancients understood. They used sound to heal, chanting, drumming, singing bowls. They used sound to build, shaping stones not by force, but by frequency. There are legends from Egypt, from India, from Tibet, of stones that were lifted by sound, arranged by chant, carried by harmony. Could it be? You sit now in a dark room, and in the distance a tone begins, low, steady, pure. It is not loud, but you feel it in your chest. Another tone joins it, then another, and the air becomes a tapestry of vibration. You feel your thoughts slowing, your breath sinking, your heartbeat becoming gentle. This is entrainment, when one rhythm influences another. It's why we tap our feet to music. It's why we feel calm near a purring cat. It's why the heartbeat of a mother calms the child she holds. And it is how healing occurs. The ancients did not separate sound from medicine. To chant was to heal. To drum was to realign. To sing was to rebuild the pattern. You lie now in stillness, and the sounds pass over you like wind. They are not random, they are remembering. Your body is water, over 70%. Water responds to sound instantly. It ripples, it restructures. Even modern science shows how water molecules change shape in response to music, to prayer, to intention. So what, then, is a temple? A chamber for sound. And what is your body? The same. You are a resonant field, constantly shifting, singing, responding. And sleep is when that field resets. You do not fall asleep like a machine powering off. You vibrate your way into stillness. Each breath a tone, each heartbeat a drum, each dream a song waiting to be remembered. So let go now. Let the last thoughts dissolve into tone. You are not alone. The universe is singing, and you are part of the harmony. The breath now is slower, the silence fuller. The room around you seems to fade, not vanish, just soften, as if the walls have loosened their need to define space, as if time itself has taken a seat beside you and decided to stop ticking for a while. You are not moving forward anymore. You are sinking deeper, deeper into the mystery, deeper into the memory of things once known, now forgotten. You are about to enter a world that should not exist, a world where machines turned without fuel, where precision rivaled modern engineering, where light, sound, and water were shaped by minds we no longer understand. This is the realm of forgotten ancient technology, and it begins not in a lab, but in a ruin. A quiet room, perhaps, sunlight breaking through a shattered roof, The walls still echo with dust and wind, but something lingers here, something not broken, just silent. You brush away the sand, and beneath it lies a gear, not crude, not primitive, but perfectly toothed, made of bronze, corroded, yes, but unmistakably mechanical. This is not fiction. This is the Antikythera mechanism, found off the coast of Greece in the remains of a sunken ship, dated to over 2,000 years ago. It is often called the world's first analog computer, and when modern engineers X-rayed its corroded interior, they found dozens of interlocking gears, calculators for planetary movement, dials for eclipses, predictions for Olympic cycles, all in a compact box the size of a shoebox. It could model the movement of Mercury, Venus, the Moon, with astonishing accuracy. How? No one is entirely sure. The workmanship rivals 18th century clockmaking, but this device predates such clocks by more than 1,000 years. No other like it has been found. It is not the only anomaly. In ancient Baghdad, archaeologists found clay jars with copper cylinders inside, separated by asphalt plugs. When filled with vinegar or wine, they produced a small electric charge. These are known as the Baghdad batteries. Were they used for electroplating, healing, or something else entirely? We don't know, but they suggest that electricity was known, if not fully understood, long before we thought it was discovered. And then there are the Roman concrete secrets. You walk now along a broken coastline in Italy. The waves lap gently at the edge of an ancient pier, still intact after 2,000 years. Unlike modern concrete, which crumbles in salt water over decades, Roman concrete grows stronger with time. Their formula used volcanic ash, lime, and seawater. The chemical reaction creates aluminum tobermarite, a crystal that gives the concrete strength and durability. Today, engineers study it. Tomorrow, we may recreate it. But the past already knew. You descend now into the deep chambers of ancient India, to the Iron Pillar of Delhi, over 1,600 years old, exposed to monsoon rains and heat, and yet it resists corrosion. No rust, no weakness. Its secret lies in its phosphoric composition, a metallurgical formula not matched again for centuries. Was it luck or knowledge? From India, your path winds to Egypt, not to the pyramids this time, but to a quiet corridor near the temple of Hathor at Dendera. Carved into the wall is an image, a bulb, long, glass-like, with a serpent coiled inside and connected to what appears to be a cable. Some believe it represents a light source, an ancient form of illumination using electricity and noble gases. Others call it myth, metaphor. But nearby, in forgotten scrolls, there are descriptions of silent lights, used in tombs that show no soot, no torch residue. Could they have known light without flame? You don't have to decide now. Only listen to the possibilities, to the spaces where certainty fades and wonder begins. In China, bamboo scrolls describe seismographs, metal dragons that dropped balls from their mouths to signal an earthquake's direction. Thousands of years ago, they could detect tremors we can barely measure today. In Peru, ancient engineers built acoustic theaters into natural rock, places where a whisper could travel over 100 feet with no amplification. They used water channels to conduct sound, stones that ring like bells. In the Middle East, The Banu Musa brothers of the 9th century created automata, programmable fountains, mechanical musicians, doors that open by steam. They wrote volumes describing hydraulics, gears, and automation. In Greece, Hero of Alexandria built steam-powered devices, doors that opened by heat, machines that spun from pressure, toys that danced from hidden forces, and in every case, their designs were lost, not because they were erased, because we stopped listening, and now we are starting to remember. The past was not primitive, it was curious, it was intuitive, it was quietly advanced, and perhaps, most of all, it was humble, knowing that knowledge is not a ladder, but a spiral. You lie now in the stillness between questions. Let the echoes of turning gears, flowing water, and singing metal lull you. You are not in the past. You are in the memory of what was possible. And in your breath, the ancient engines begin again. There are no sharp edges here, no loud questions, only the gentle turning of thought, like leaves drifting across a quiet stream. Everything slows, everything softens, and in the stillness, something begins to unfold. Not an answer, a pattern, not a map, a rhythm. You are entering the realm of sacred geometry, not merely lines and circles on paper, not cold formulas or lifeless angles, but a living language, older than numbers, older than speech, used by the ancients to shape temples, build cities, and even understand the stars. It begins with a point. From that point, a circle. From the circle, a line. From two circles, the vesica piscis, the almond shape formed where they overlap. This shape was not a symbol, it was a principle. It appears in the seeds of fruit, in the formation of cells, in the designs of Gothic cathedrals and Egyptian reliefs. It is the moment of union, of emergence, a portal. From that, the flower of life is born, a grid of overlapping circles, each one placed with care, with ratio, with breath. This design appears carved into ancient temples, in Egypt's Abydos, in China's Forbidden City, in mosques, churches, and across the natural world. Why? Because it is how life builds itself. You see it now in nature, the spiral of a sunflower's seed pattern, the curve of a nautilus shell, the unfolding of a fern, the arms of a galaxy, all echo the same spiral, the golden ratio, phi, 1.618 repeating, a number that never ends, never repeats, a pattern of proportion that feels not just beautiful, but true, as if the eye, the body, the breath, all recognize it without needing to be taught. The ancients built with it. The pyramids of Giza, aligned to the stars, are proportioned to it. The Parthenon in Greece, the temples in Angkor, the layout of Machu Picchu, all echo these ratios. They are not accidents of style. They are harmonics of space. You walk now through one of these places, a hallway of smooth stone. Shafts of golden light fall through high windows. Each step you take falls into rhythm with the architecture itself, not because of music, but because the geometry feels right. Sacred geometry is not decoration. It is function. It heals. It realigns. You feel it in your body now, a gentle settling, as if your spine recognizes the structure, as if your cells are listening to the space and responding with gratitude. In the sacred sites of India, temple layouts follow the Vastu Purusha Mandala, a map of cosmic energy, Rooms aligned to cardinal directions, entryways facing the rising sun, the center always open, the Brahmasthan, a silent heart where energy can flow and return. In the cathedrals of Europe, the rose windows mirror the patterns of flowers, mandalas, and the heavens. Their stained glass does not merely color the light, it filters vibration. Light becomes music. Geometry becomes prayer. Even the human body is built in geometry. Your limbs, your face, your fingers, all unfold according to golden ratios. The Fibonacci sequence lives in your DNA. You are not just part of the pattern. You are the pattern. And in this realization, something quiet emerges. That the ancients were not obsessed with shape for beauty. They were remembering a truth. That all things, material, spiritual, celestial, are connected by a mathematics of harmony, not to limit, to liberate, to place each thing, each being, each breath into a wider rhythm. You sit now beneath a tree, its branches spread above you, splitting and curling in perfect ratios. Its leaves flutter, each placed to catch light in spirals. Its roots mirror the sky, and beneath it, in the stillness, you begin to feel whole, not as a destination, but as a recognition. You were never broken. You were always part of this code. The dream is not escape. It is a return to balance, to proportion, to the sacred order beneath the silence. So let the geometry hold you. Let the spirals cradle your thoughts. Let the breath form its own perfect arc. Sleep in the symmetry of the stars, and awaken when it is time into a world where everything, even you, is sacred design. There is no movement now, no sound, no shape, only breath. And even that seems to slow, as if the body has learned the rhythm of stillness itself. Around you is not darkness, but velvet, not silence, but the quiet hum of being. You are not drifting anymore. You are suspended, held in something older than time. You are entering the inner world now, the world of the heart, not the organ, the center, the compass, the memory that does not think, it knows. And here, the ancient civilizations are not built of stone or clay, but of feeling. The temples are moments, the monuments are dreams. The wisdom is written not in ink, but in intuition. This chapter does not begin with a location. It begins with you, lying still, breathing gently, and remembering things you were never taught. Have you ever known something before you could explain it? Have you ever felt a place, a person, a moment, and recognized it without reason? The ancients would not call this strange. They would call it sacred. Many cultures believed that the heart, not the brain, was the seat of consciousness. The Egyptians, for instance, weighed the heart in the afterlife, not the mind, not the deeds alone, the heart. If it was light, it was free. If heavy, bound. They did not mean emotion, they meant truth. The heart held memory, not of events, but of essence. It remembered not what happened, but who you are, and still does. You breathe now in harmony with that remembering. In ancient China, Taoist sages spoke of the Shen, the spirit that resides in the heart. If the heart is calm, the Shen shines like a lamp. If the heart is troubled, the spirit is scattered. So they meditated, listened, cultivated stillness, not as escape, but as a way of returning to themselves. The Vedic seers in India spoke of the Anahata chakra, the heart center, as the place where opposites dissolve, where breath and thought, body and spirit, masculine and feminine, all meet in green light and silent joy. It was not philosophy, it was experience. You feel it now, not as idea, but as warmth, a presence behind your sternum. The heartbeat is not just a pulse, it is a signal, an electromagnetic field that extends several feet from your body. Modern science measures it now, but the ancients felt it always. When two people sit near each other with calm hearts, their heart rhythms begin to sync, like tuning forks, like birds flying in formation, like souls remembering their shared origin. You are not isolated. You are entrained with life. And this is where dreams begin, not just as stories of the night, but as bridges to wisdom deeper than thought. The Australian Aboriginal people speak of dreamtime, a timeless realm where ancestors sing the world into being, where every rock, river, and animal is part of a living story. To walk the land is to walk a song, and to sleep is to return to that song. The Lakota speak of dreams as guides. The Tibetans practice dream yoga, where one learns to awaken within the dream, not to control it, but to listen more deeply. You drift now between waking and dreaming, and as you do, something opens, not outward, inward. You find yourself walking through a space that feels familiar, but is made of feeling, not form. You pass memories that are not yours, but feel like home, glimpses of firelight, of ancient stars, of voices speaking in forgotten tongues that your heart somehow understands. These are not hallucinations. They are ancestral echoes, passed not in blood, but in soul. The heart remembers lifetimes, not only yours, and when you listen, truly listen, you are not just hearing the past, you are becoming a part of it. You lie now in this moment, not thinking, not reaching, just resting. And in that rest, the oldest wisdom of all begins to surface, that you are not lost, you are not broken, you do not need fixing, you are remembering. Your breath, your dreams, your silence, they are all languages, and the heart, ancient and quiet, understands them all. So sleep now, with no fear of forgetting, because the heart never does. It carries all of it, the knowledge, the song, the rhythm of those who came before. And when you wake, you will wake not alone, but aligned. You lie still now, like stone in the grass. Your breathing is steady, your mind soft. The world around you is quiet, not absent, just reverent. You feel the coolness of earth beneath you and the weightless hush of sky above. You are not between two realms. You are bridging them, and the ancients did the same. They built not just with strength, but with alignment. Not just structures, but invitations. Stone rising not only to reach upward, but to echo the heavens. Cities designed not only to shelter, but to reflect the cosmos. This chapter is not about architecture. It is about relationship, between earth and sky, between human hands and celestial light. You begin in Egypt. The pyramids rise around you, but tonight you see them differently, not just as tombs, not even as mysteries, but as mirrors. Their sides face the four cardinal directions with uncanny precision, And more than that, the three great pyramids at Giza are laid out in a pattern that mimics Orion's belt. Above you, the stars glitter. Below you, their image is carved in stone. Why? Because the ancients believed what was above was within. They aligned the pyramid shafts with the rising of Sirius, the star linked to Isis, the goddess of rebirth. And when that star first returned to the dawn sky each year, the Nile would flood, the earth was nourished, and time was renewed. This was not superstition. It was synchronization. In England, you walk now through the morning mist towards Stonehenge. Massive stones, lifted and placed in circles, stacked in lintels, stand quietly in the silence of dawn. But when the sun rises on the summer solstice, it shines through a gap in the stones and touches the heart of the monument. A design of light, of calendar, of intention. Similar circles exist across Europe, across time, and across oceans. In the Americas, you find yourself standing before the temple of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza. The sun is setting, and shadows fall in precise triangles down the steps. On the spring and autumn equinoxes, the angle of light forms the shape of a serpent slithering down the stairs. Kukulkan, the feathered serpent, returning to earth. It is not illusion, it is design. In Peru, the city of Cusco was shaped in the form of a puma. The stars of the southern sky mirrored in the layout of roads and plazas. Machu Picchu, high in the clouds, was built on a mountain saddle between sacred peaks, each aligned with celestial events. In India, the observatory of Jantar Mantar rises like sculpture from the ground, not built with lenses or glass, but with stone, huge stairways and arcs that cast shadows, telling time, mapping stars, predicting solstices. The instruments are silent, yet they speak to the stars. And everywhere, always, the sky responded, because it had been invited. The Dogon people of Mali knew of Sirius B, a white dwarf star, invisible to the naked eye, long before Western astronomy had the tools to see it. Their knowledge came not from telescopes, but from oral memory and sacred story. In China, the ancient city of Xi'an was planned using celestial alignments, palaces placed not only for power, but for harmony with star paths. The temples of Angkor Wat in Cambodia align not only with the rising sun at equinoxes, but with the constellation Draco, frozen in time in stone and starlight. The ancient world was not disconnected from the sky. It was dancing with it. You feel that dance now in your own body, your heartbeat steady, your breath rising and falling like the moon. You are not outside this pattern. You are part of it. You are built of the same particles as the stars. Your atoms once lived in suns. Your sleep is not just rest. It is alignment. So lie back beneath the stars, whether you see them or not. Know that the ancients saw them too, and built homes, temples, and dreams beneath their gaze. They did not worship stars. They walked among them, on earth, in breath, in silence. So let the sky settle now in your bones. Let the constellations drift behind your closed eyelids. Let sleep carry you not away, but into the pattern. You are the temple. You are the axis. You are the harmony between stone and star. Now the world grows even quieter. Your breath is soft. Your limbs are weightless. Thought no longer moves in sentences, but in ripples. The sound of distant water surrounds you, not loud, not sharp, just endlessly flowing, like a stream in the distance, like a memory returning home. You are entering a new element now, not earth, not sky, but water, not just the substance, the spirit, the ancient force that carries memory, emotion, and life. A traveler older than the oldest ruins and gentler than wind. Water is not just part of the story. Water remembers the story. You drift now into a valley where water flows from a sacred spring. There is no noise here, but the trickle of its path over polished stones. Birds hum from the trees. The air is cool and still. And you remember something. Not from reading, not from learning, from being. That water has always been more than drink, more than rain. It has been ritual, messenger, mirror. In ancient times, rivers were not just sources of life, they were lines of spirit. To the Egyptians, the Nile was not merely a river, it was the vein of the gods, flowing from the heart of the world into the body of civilization. They watched it rise, measured it with nilometers, ancient stone gauges carved into steps and wells, to predict floods, harvests, the moods of deities. And when it overflowed, they didn't fear, they celebrated. The flood was a gift, a memory, a cleansing of time. In Mesopotamia, the Tigris and Euphrates whispered in dual harmony. Temples stood close to their banks. Rituals were performed with sacred water. The priests understood that no blessing was complete without flow. Because water carries intention. You feel it now in your hand, cupped, cool, delicate. It shapes itself to whatever holds it, yet resists being held too long. Like truth, like love. The people of India built ghats, stone steps leading into rivers, not just for bathing, but for connecting. The Ganges is not simply a river. She is Ma Ganga, a mother, divine and eternal. Pilgrims travel for days to stand in her presence, to immerse, to surrender, to be carried. And in Japan, the ancient tradition of misogi uses waterfalls and rivers for purification, not metaphorical, literal. The sound of falling water washes the thoughts. The cold bite clears the spirit. The individual returns renewed, realigned. The Druids of Europe gathered around sacred wells, springs that rose from deep places. They believed water emerged where the spirit world touched ours. Wishes were whispered, cloth tied to trees, and the water listened. Always it listened, because water holds memory. Modern science is beginning to see what the ancients always felt, that water molecules respond to emotion, to sound, to intention. Crystals freeze differently, depending on what is spoken to them. Joy forms symmetry, anger, distortion. Prayer and kindness create order. The same water that flows in rivers flows through you. Your body is mostly water. Your blood, your tears, your breath, all carried by the same element that filled sacred basins and passed through mountain springs. And when you dream, your mind floats in that internal sea. The ancients used water in divination, scrying bowls, mirrors, reflections not just of face, but of future. They gazed not to see, but to feel. The ripples, the distortions, all messages. You sit now at the edge of such a bowl. The water is dark and still. You gaze into it, and for a moment, nothing appears. And then, not images, but impressions. A place you've never been, but feel you've known. Hands cupping water at a stream. A ritual performed at dawn. A voice calling into a cave behind a waterfall. You do not understand, not with the mind. You understand with the heart. Because water does not communicate in words. It speaks in memory, in flow, in the deep, knowing that even the most fleeting moments can leave a lasting mark if they move like water. You lie back now, the sound of gentle waves lapping somewhere near, each breath a tide, each exhale a letting go. Water remembers all that came before you, and you, tonight, become part of its song. Let it carry you now. Let it smooth the stone of your thoughts. Let it soothe your body like a sacred river washing through you. You are not drifting away. You are returning to the current of all things. Sleep now, and in sleep, flow. The sound of water fades behind you now. In its place comes something softer still, the breath of leaves, the low rustle of branches shifting ever so slightly in the wind. A bird calls once, gently, then disappears into the silence again. You are no longer near the river. You are beneath the trees. A forest spreads around you like a memory waking up. The light is dappled and golden. The air is still, but alive. Each leaf seems to hold its own quiet heartbeat, and every root you step over feels as though it remembers your name. This is not just a place. It is a being. And tonight, you are listening to it. The ancients did not think of trees as scenery. They thought of them as kin. To the Druids, the oak was sacred. So was the ash. So was the yew. Each tree held wisdom, personality, history. Forest groves were their temples. No stone walls, just trunks and sky. They believed trees spoke, not in syllables, in silence, in stillness, in pattern. And they weren't wrong. You lie back now against the mossy base of an old pine, and you begin to feel it, not a sound, not a word, but a rhythm. The tree is breathing, not like you, but not unlike you either. It draws in carbon, exhales oxygen, feeds its roots through sunlight, reaches upward, always upward, and yet never leaves its place. It is patient, it is present, it is alive. Forests, ancient ones, are networks, not collections. They speak beneath the soil, through roots, through fungi, a vast web, like neural pathways, connecting one tree to another. When a tree is thirsty, others may share water. When a tree is ill, others may send nutrients. When a tree dies, its wisdom is stored in the roots of those nearby. Scientists call it the wood wide web. The ancients called it spirit. In the Amazon, the shamans say trees have voices, that the jungle sings, not metaphorically, literally, that each plant holds a song, a medicine, a frequency, a memory, and those who listen deeply, humbly, over time, may begin to understand the songs. You lie now beneath a great canopy. Above you, branches stretch like arms, fingers laced with sky. Some leaves flutter, others hold still. The light flickers across your face. You close your eyes, and still you see green. And in that green, a story begins to form, not one told with events or names, a feeling, The memory of climbing trees as a child, the shade of a fig tree in an old courtyard, the scent of rain on eucalyptus, the crunch of pine needles beneath your boots on some long-forgotten trail. These are not memories in the brain, they are memories in the body. Because trees leave impressions not just in photos, not just in pages, but in us. You breathe now in time with the forest. Inhale, stillness. Exhale, release. The Japanese call this Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing. Not a walk, not exercise, just being in the presence of trees. Studies show it lowers cortisol, slows the heart, restores the nervous system. But long before the studies, the soul already knew. Trees are not only medicine, they are companions. In Africa, the baobab is known as the tree of life, wide, ancient, water-storing. In India, the peepal tree is sacred to Vishnu. In Norse myth, the entire universe is suspended in Yggdrasil, the world tree. And in each tradition, the lesson is the same. We rise by rooting. We grow by staying still. We become tall, not by reaching farther, but by grounding deeper. The bark beneath your hand now is rough, warm from the sun. You feel the slow pulse within, not measurable, but unmistakable. The tree knows you are there, not as a threat, as a presence. The air is heavy with green silence, not empty, sacred. Sleep now beneath the trees. Sleep inside the forest's breath. Let your dreams stretch upward like branches. Let your worries fall away like leaves. You are part of the forest, and the forest remembers you. The forest behind you grows quiet, its lessons sinking into your skin like sunlight through leaves. You walk slowly now, not away from it, but carrying it with you. You move not through the modern world, but towards something older. Not the past, not the future, but the place where they meet. There is a movement in the world now, soft, slow, and spreading, like water returning to dry ground. You may not see it in the noise, in the headlines, or in the cities, but it is there. The old ways are returning, not as fashion, not as fantasy, as remembrance. You are living in a time of great speed. Everything races forward. Screens flash, thoughts scatter, hours vanish. But beneath the rush, many are pausing, not to escape, to remember. To look again at the earth not as a resource, but as relative. To hear the wind not as background, but as language. To understand that ancient wisdom was not ignorance, it was intimacy. And you are part of this remembering. You feel it in the draw toward quiet places, toward gardens, toward firelight, toward stone and star and forest and sky, toward rituals you never learned, but somehow always knew. Simple rituals, lighting a candle with care, walking barefoot in the morning dew, burying your hands in soil, listening to your breath as if it were an elder. These are not trends. These are echoes of the old ways, the ones kept not in books, but in the body. Across the world, people are returning to these ways in small, profound steps. Farmers planting by moon cycles again, mothers blessing food before it is eaten, not from duty, but from reverence. Artists carving symbols older than their language. Healers working with herbs, sound, and touch. With presence, more than tools. There is no single tradition. There is only the thread, and each culture has held a piece of it. The indigenous peoples of North America speak of walking in beauty, living each day in harmony with nature, spirit, and self. It is not a ceremony, it is a way of being, a promise to tread lightly, speak gently, and leave behind only gratitude. In the Sami traditions of the far north, joiking, a form of singing, honors not just people, but reindeer, rivers, rocks. Each being has a song. To sing it is to recognize it. In Africa, ancestral wisdom is passed through story, not lecture. Around fires, under stars, names are spoken, journeys recounted. The dead are not gone, they are consulted. In Polynesia, navigation was done not with compasses, but with the stars, the waves, the birds. The sea was not a void, it was a map and memory, and those who rode it were rememberers. And now, in cities, in homes, in hearts, people are beginning to reawaken, not through spectacle, through simplicity, a shared meal, a slow morning, a bowl passed hand to hand. The earth is whispering again, not because she stopped, but because we are starting to listen. Even science, with all its brilliance, begins to curve back toward these truths, that emotion shapes biology, that nature restores the mind, that community heals, that ancient practices, long dismissed, hold real and lasting medicine. You lie still now, not in a forest or temple, but in your own room, yet you feel it. The sacredness is not in the location. It is in the attention. It is in the breath you take, slowly, gently. It is in the gratitude you feel, even now, for this quiet moment. You are the ritual. You are the return. You are not going backward. You are spiraling inward, toward center, toward peace. Let the old ways rise in your dreams now. Let them speak not in words, but in feeling. Let the sleep you enter now be sacred, not for what it changes, but for what it restores. You are home. The night is full now, complete, not dark, just deep. A stillness settles like a blanket over the land and over your body. You are resting, quiet, calm, but far beneath the surface of the earth. Something is stirring, not moving, not waking, whispering. This is the chapter of what remains hidden, of cities buried not in mystery, but in patience, of temples swallowed by the dunes, of stairways resting under jungle roots, of voices not lost, only hushed, waiting beneath centuries of silence for someone to listen again. You are about to walk among the forgotten, not through excavation, through dream. Breathe in, slowly. And as you exhale, imagine yourself drifting down, down beneath the surface of time. You stand now in the midst of a desert. The wind blows across endless sand, warm, soft, eternal. But beneath your feet lies a story. Stone blocks, walls, columns, tools, rooms, entire cities, entire lives. Somewhere beneath the Sahara, a desert larger than some nations, are remnants of settlements that once flourished. Ancient maps, weathered scrolls, and subtle satellite patterns suggest that something vast lies buried under the dunes. Trade routes, lakes long gone, cultures long vanished, but not forgotten, because stone remembers and silence keeps secrets. You walk now through a forest, thick, green, endless. In the jungles of Guatemala, Honduras, and southern Mexico, entire Maya cities slept for centuries. Some still sleep, covered in green, absorbed into the land. Every vine that grew over a temple, every root that embraced a staircase, did not erase it. It preserved it. Beneath the thick canopy, satellites have begun to see it. Straight lines, plazas, roads, bridges, not isolated cities, but networks. The Maya didn't vanish. They were woven into the trees, in the sands of Arabia, in the cliffs of Turkey, in the marshes of the Indus, and the high plateaus of Iran. Ruins remain unseen, covered by time, smoothed by wind. The people who built them, their names are uncertain, but their presence remains. The walls they shaped still hold breath. The wells they dug still know thirst. The altars they carved still glow in moonlight. And in places like Göbekli Tepe, a Turkish hill once thought to be a natural rise, stood one of the world's oldest known temples, 12,000 years old, older than the pyramids, older than writing. Its stones tell of ritual, of meaning, of a people we never knew existed. What else sleeps beneath us? You float now, like a feather, above the earth, and as you look down, you no longer see only mountains and oceans. You see layers. Beneath the fields, the foundation of old roads. Beneath the seas, cities swallowed whole. Beneath the cities of today, cities of yesterday. Even in modern places, like Rome, like Istanbul, like Cairo, each layer builds upon another. Foundations built on foundations. Lives stacked in silence. Stories sleeping beneath feet and traffic and modern breath. The earth is not just a planet. It is an archive, and you are part of its remembering. The ancients whispered into stone, not to hold power, to hold presence. And stone does not forget. Neither does sand. Neither do the stars above. Neither do you. For every lost civilization buried in the ground, there is a trace of it inside us, in the rhythms we keep, in the names we hum, in the dreams that feel older than we are. You drift now, even deeper, not away from the forgotten, toward it, because memory is not always loud. Sometimes it rests, quiet, waiting, and as you fall into sleep, you may hear them, voices not speaking words, but warmth, shapes not forming buildings, but feelings, time not passing, but circling back. You are not alone. You never were. The lost are never truly gone. They are just beneath, and now you join them, not in loss, but in stillness. Breathe, rest, remember without trying. Sleep. You are floating now, not on water, not on air, but on stillness itself. There is no motion, no direction, just the soft hush of everything, everywhere, at once. Around you is darkness, not cold, not empty, but warm, like velvet. This is not the end of the journey. This is the beginning of space. Not outer space, as you've heard it. Not rockets, not probes, not telescopes, but the sky as the ancients knew it, as a living presence, as a mirror, as a sacred book written in stars. You are not watching the stars. You are among them. Let yourself drift. The night sky was once humanity's greatest teacher. Before screens, before noise, before the city lights dimmed the heavens, people would lie on the earth and look up, and they saw everything, not only points of light, They saw stories, patterns, warnings, songs, maps. They saw a rhythm so perfect, so vast, that it guided everything. When to plant, when to harvest, when to begin a journey, when to name a child. The stars were not decoration. They were conversation. The ancient Babylonians tracked the heavens with meticulous records on clay tablets, eclipses, planetary positions, lunar cycles. They predicted celestial events with astonishing accuracy thousands of years ago. They didn't watch the sky. They participated in it. In the temples of Egypt, shafts were carved through stone to align perfectly with stars, Sirius, Orion, Polaris, as they rose and fell through the night and the year. These alignments weren't for spectacle. They were for synchronization. The stars marked the calendar, yes, but more than that, they marked meaning. In the Andes, the Inca saw constellations not only in the stars, but in the dark shapes between them, voids in the Milky Way they called animals, the llama, the fox, the serpent. Their worldview included what others ignored. They read not just light, they read shadow. In Aboriginal Australia, the sky was a memory palace. Each star carried story. Each constellation marked a place on the land, a songline, a law, a lesson. They navigated vast deserts by sky alone, but not through calculation, through relation. They knew the stars as kin. In Polynesia, wayfinders crossed thousands of miles of ocean, using only the stars, the waves, the winds, and the birds. No compass, no clock, only attunement. They looked not only at the heavens, but into themselves. And the sky responded. Because the ancients understood something we are only beginning to remember, that consciousness is not separate from the cosmos, that to observe the stars is not to look away, it is to look within. You breathe now beneath that same sky, the same stars, the same light that fell upon pyramid stones, canyon walls, temple steps. And though science has mapped the universe in great detail, galaxies, nebulae, quasars, and black holes, still the mystery remains. Because knowledge is not a replacement for wonder, it is a doorway to it. The Dogon of Mali knew of Sirius B, a dense companion star invisible without a telescope, long before modern instruments could detect it. They described its orbit, its weight, its energy. Where did they learn? They say it was told to them by those who came from the stars. You do not have to decide what is true. You only have to listen to the silence between facts, to the pulse beneath the sky, to the stillness now cradling your breath. The stars are not just out there. They are in you. Your atoms were born in their fire. Your blood carries their rhythm. Your dreams drift on their paths. You are not a visitor in the cosmos. You are a part of it. So let yourself rest in that knowing now. Not as science, as surrender. You do not need to understand, only to feel, only to float, only to fall, not down, but inward, into the silence beyond the stars, into the memory of the sky, into sleep, deep and ancient and light as starlight. You are almost entirely still now. There is no more journey, no more searching, only resting. You are not at the end. You are at the center. And here, in this quietest place, where stars dissolve into dreams, where time no longer leans forward, you find what may be the most ancient truth of all, that the final temple is you, not in metaphor, not in poetry, but in living truth. You carry within you the memory of the earth and the rhythm of the stars, the breath of trees and the fluid wisdom of rivers, the alignment of stone and sky, the firelight of ritual and the song of ancestors humming through your bones. This chapter is not written in stone. It is written in skin, in breath, in the sacred quiet between your heartbeats. Every civilization you've walked through, from the buried cities beneath the sand, to the jungle-wrapped pyramids, to the firelit caves of forgotten continents, all of them remain inside you. Their temples taught presence, their rituals taught gratitude, their star maps taught you to lift your eyes. But it was your body that learned. It was your soul that remembered. And so now, in the hush of night, you lie not just as a sleeper in a bed, but as a dreamer in a temple made of light and silence. And this temple breathes. This temple listens. This temple remembers. Let your thoughts be like candles, each one flickering out, gently, one by one. Let your limbs be like sacred stones, resting exactly where they belong. Let your breath be the incense that rises, slow, warm, invisible. There is no doorway, no threshold, because you are already inside. This temple was never far. It was never hidden. It is the gaze behind your eyes, the hush behind your thoughts, the ancient part of you that has never been afraid, that has always been watching and smiling. You are not a wanderer anymore. You are the altar. You are the flame. You are the scroll and the chant and the silence that holds it all. So sleep now. Sleep as the sages slept, with stars behind your eyes and earth beneath your chest. Sleep as the builders slept, after shaping stone, not just with hands, but with devotion. Sleep as the waters sleep, still, deep, remembering everything. And as you sleep, know that the ancients are not gone. They are here, in the rhythm of your breathing, in the space behind your thoughts, in the temple you carry forward. You are not just the dreamer. You are the legacy. You are the future remembering its past. And in the stillness of sleep, you return to it, softly, peacefully, completely. Sleep now and become bottom of form.